Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Medtech Ventures podcast, where innovation meets investment in the world of medical technology. I am delighted to be joined today by CEO and founder at DLOC Biosystems, Wadah Malaeb. Wadah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a pleasure meeting you again.
Thank you, Wadah. Yeah, much appreciated. We've met a couple of times in the past. I've long been a follower of organ on a chip technology, but more importantly, the human body on a chip technology that I know DLOC is exploring. We need better alternatives out there. We need more replicable models for drug testing. So I was super excited when I first got eyes of DLOC. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Wadah. How did you get into the world of organ on a chip?
So basically, I'm by background I'm a mechanical engineer. So that's what I was very far away from anything related to this field, but I was excited about this field since my early ages at university, and I ventured to study a bit of like some courses in biomedical engineering, and this allowed me to go and work in like more biomedical related projects, mainly in breast cancer research and different type of projects, mainly also biomaterials. So that's where I discovered that there is there is a gap in the market, and that's where like there's this type of marriage between engineering and biology that's missing. It's not being done properly, and that's where I thought that actually instead of engineering things that are not living, we can do engineering solutions for things that are living, and we can improve the medical and life sciences fields.
Absolutely. It's an area that I've long been interested in. You know, I've been a big fan of the work that organizations like Frame do, the Foundation for the Replacement of Animals in Medical Environments, and drug testing and medical device testing on animals has long been problematic, not just for the ethical reasons, but also, like I talked about earlier, that the replicable models are difficult to come by, and you're not getting the best possible results when you're looking at animals. So tell us a little bit about DLOC then, Wadah. What makes DLOC special?
So DLOC Biosystems came from the idea where I was working basically in the past on a breast cancer research project, and while working on this project, we were studying the physiology of the breast ducts, mammary ducts, and how important this physiology is on the functionality of the tissues. And it was frustrating to me to see that most of the experiments that we are doing, they don't translate to clinical trials. You know, they fail basically once they are tested in clinical trials. So nothing that I worked in basically ever translated to to clinical trials. This was really frustrating to me. And when I dug deep into it, I realized that actually the problem is deeper than that. The problem is that basically there's nothing that we can grow in the labs that can mimic what's happening in the human body. And the more that we can mimic the environment of the human tissues, the more we can basically predict what's going on when we test drugs on the human body, so in clinical trials. And that's where I realized that actually this physiology that we study in the books in biology, we don't really model it in the labs. We grow cells in the labs randomly in 2D or in like spheroids or something like that. But in the human physiology is way more complicated. It's way more complex, and that's something that's lacking. So that's where I thought that okay, what if we can create something, a model that can replicate this physiology in the lab in microchips. And when I came up with this idea, I faced multiple issues, which basically are, for example, there was no manufacturing technique to manufacture those scaffolds that I incorporated inside of the chips as a design, and that's one of the problems, for example. And then that's exactly what headed me towards this field, and that's where DLOC was born. So it was born from a need that I experienced, and this need is basically to create better models in the lab at the preclinical phase, where we can test drugs and better determine what's going on. And at DLOC, what we invented is we invented small chips, and those chips, they are the size of a penny. Inside of it, we have channels, micro channels. Inside of the channels, we have micro scaffolds, and those scaffolds they are 3D in shape, and they are porous, ultra thin, so we can grow multiple tissue types in different areas separated by the scaffolds, or also combined by those scaffolds. They are connected with the scaffold, so we can grow complex tissues, no matter how complicated it is in terms of the structure, in terms of the assembly, the microenvironment, we can feed each cell type differently while they're connected to each other. And what's unique about it. So when we invented the chip, that's where actually we ventured to another project, which basically the human on-chip operating system, the device that you mentioned, which basically for the chip, it can model one organ model on one tissue in the lab, in the chip, in a accurate way. But that's not enough. In the human body, it's not just about a microenvironment that's static or about a 3D structure of a tissue. There's more complexities. The tissues or organs in our body, they communicate with each other. They can crosstalk. And the way that they're connected in the body is very important on the functionality of those tissues. And that's where we ventured into the operating system and decided, okay, why not inventing a device that can connect different organs together, different chips together, each chip growing an organ, and it can measure in real time what's going on and can manipulate the system. And that's exactly what we invented, the operating system, a small device that's unique. The uniqueness about the chip was the ability to mimic the 3D structures and microenvironments of tissues, of complex tissues, with like many cell co-cultures in the chip, and they're grown in an accurate way. But about the operating systems, the system, there's lots of like challenges, and each challenge should be solved in a unique way. So one of the things, for example, is to model the fluid dynamics of the tissues, because each tissue type requires like a specific shear force, a specific pressure. There's multiple parameters that plays a role. They're connected in a way that's different. We should feed each cell with different media, with different like nutrients and different oxygen levels, different everything. So there's lots of complexity at the dynamic level, which is very, very interesting for me as an engineer and for my team also. But also, like, it's an interesting problem to solve. And we made the operating system to be very versatile, very mimetic in terms of like how versatile it is, because we can model multiple case scenarios. And also, it's plug and play. So we can remove a chip, replace it with another chip. We can also fit chips from other competitors, for example, from other companies. I don't call them competitors. I call like could be potential collaborators, because basically it's an empty field that everyone can have a space in this field, because like we should all help each other to be able to fill this gap, the huge gap that's in the market. So no matter how many companies there are working on this field, there's a big market for it.
It's a really healthy attitude towards, looking at better quality drug testing and better quality device testing. And you mentioned you don't see the other organ-on-a-chip companies as competitors. They're potential partners, they're collaborators. We're all looking for a world where more drugs get approved quicker and more ethically. And again, the operating system model, it's so novel, it's so interesting. You look at the alternatives out there, and you've got human-derived iPSCs, pluripotent stem cells, you've got tissues taken from healthy donors or even cadavers. You've got animals, which we've already talked about, the ethical challenges with using animals. You've got organ on a chip, and then more recently you've got computer-based simulation and models looking at how drugs will interact. But looking at the operating system and the human body on a chip seems like a really, really intelligent way of looking at those interactions at the different levels. So super, super exciting technology. Well, what has been your biggest challenge then, Wadah? What's happening right now in the world of DLOC and the ever-evolving world of drug testing and device testing?
So one of them, there's multiple challenges. We are a startup, and startups have many, many challenges. But one of the biggest challenges, like that we faced, one of them is basically that we are operating at multiple levels in the technology. So we are a engineering team that develops everything from taking the raw materials, like manufacturing each and every step. We designed each and every device in the manufacturing process that can allow us to create each and every step in the manufacturing. So it's a big challenge, and it's because the whole like mechanism and method of manufacturing those chips is unique. We can't just buy a machine and use it to manufacture the chips. We have to manufacture our own devices that can allow us to manufacture each step of the chip. So that's from the technical level. And then going to the biology, we don't sell chips, we sell services. We are a CRO. So we are currently, for example, in the phase of developing different organ models, how to grow different cell types inside of the chips. And one of the ways around it is we collaborated with multiple universities and research labs, and each lab is working on a organ model that are helping us to develop it together. And that's how to solve it. But that's from the technical level. From the logistical level, we have teams in multiple places in different countries. We have teams here in the UK, we have team in Lebanon, we have teams in different places. And to have everyone working as a team, as a one team, for the same goal, and have this type of work culture, where everyone works like a family in our company. So it's very important. It's a big challenge to keep this type of culture in the company, so that everyone is working for their own company. They don't work. DLOC is like their own company. It's not my company. It's not like just the founders and investors company. It's basically for every team member, and that's why like every team member in the company have shares in the company. So that's one of the challenges that we have. And yeah, there's also other challenges such as the commercialization. It's very important to make sure that what we are doing basically fit like the needs of have an end goal, fits the need of customers. And it's very easy to just drift in the technology because it's very exciting, and just like forget that what exactly the customers need today or tomorrow. So it's very important to be strategic, to look at things from the eagle eye perspective and see what's exactly needed for me, what are the core things that I should do to be able to achieve the current milestones, the different milestones that I have in my vision, in my pipeline, that can fit the vision of DLOC, rather than just digging deep in projects that are very exciting, but they're not strategic. So there's multiple challenges, but those are like few.
No, it's good to talk about. I really like the point on managing a diverse team in both the UK and in Lebanon. Logistically, getting everyone moving in the same direction, keeping everyone inspired. Great that everyone has allocated shares in the business. You know, this is a technology podcast, but it's also an investment podcast. So good that you're giving something back to the team. Good incentive there to make sure that everyone works towards that same level of success. So really, really healthy model. Given that we're talking about investment, then you're a famous guy, Wadah. You were the Forbes 30 under 30 top Arab innovator 2020. Very, very good accolades there. Tell us a little bit about your funding journey. What are you able to share on what got you guys started?
To be honest, like the funding is the hardest, toughest thing that any founder can have. It's like it's very hard, especially at early phases. It's very hard to convince people to invest in an idea and in a person, because people invest in people. They don't invest in anything else. So that's at least early on, early in the journey. So when I started this project, I didn't have anything. I didn't have like anything to invest. So and it's very hard to convince people to invest with you. So what I did is that I tried to develop as much as I can the things that can be done with minimum cost. That's first. That's the things that I started. I did some simulations. I did some. I used to be at university back then, so it was easier for me to also to access multiple things, you know. And the university helped me at that time, so it was good being at university. But the way out was very hard, which basically how to get some money, some non-dilutive grants, at least initially, that can just push you a tiny bit more to be able to get some angel investments. And it's a big journey. So at first I applied for some competitions. I won like 10 grand from here, 5 grand from there, 20 grand from here. But this money allowed me to start thinking of prototype, to buy my time, and to buy also some other people's time, because basically I need to outsource some of the things that I can outsource. I can allocate tasks to some other companies that can do it for me before even I establish a company. And then I applied for a competition in Bahrain. I won 50 grand, I think. And then in 2020, I won the competition called Stars of Science. It was the biggest competition in the Arab world. It's in the Qatar. I won like around grand in cash, and in services around 250. It was a 1 year long competition. It was a reality TV show. But the good thing about this competition is that they give you in this competition everything you want to be able to create a prototype. So that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't aim to win the competition or take the money. What I saw basically is an opportunity to create a prototype that will cost me a fortune if I will do it any other way. So I thought, okay, I don't want to win a competition. I literally want to do one thing, which basically to create this prototype. What's needed? I prepared a project proposal, everything that I want, and then I told them, okay, in this 1 year journey, and this 4 months in the lab, whatever, I need to do this step, this step, this step, this step, and I need those machines, those experts, those labs, and that's what I need from you. And because like it's a competition, you need to have milestones and objectives, and if you can achieve them, you go to the next phase, and then they filter out people until when the competition. So I didn't just create a prototype. I won the competition, and I won also a grant. And this money was good also um, uh, to establish like the early stages of the company. So I incorporated the company and like established a small team. And after this small team, I established a small lab also, did some collaborations to do the biology, and the company started from there. So the journey of fundraising was hard because without those things, it's very hard for me to get angel investors. So after that, after I had this money, I established a team, established a company. I filed some patents and did like some prototypes that are working. Even like early stage prototypes with patents, with team, with like a structured foundation. This made it way easier for me to raise some angel investors. But without those, it's very hard to do that. And that's where I started the angel investors journey in late 2022, basically, until this date. We are now closing the angel investors and looking to raise a Series A soon. So it's a tough journey. Fundraising is definitely a tough journey.
It's great that you shared that story, and I'm glad that you talked about the competition that you won. I remember when I first met you, Wadah, maybe 2, 3 years ago. I was Googling around and I was doing some research, and I saw you on what can only be described as like X Factor meets Dragon's Den. It was so bizarre. But you did a fantastic job. You're a founder and you're out there talking about quite novel technology and quite novel ideas. This is not like a grocery delivery app, which everyone has some grounding of what this is. This is a new platform for making therapeutics safer and getting to market quicker. So it was so wild, but I'm not going to pretend that every journey to investment is going to be as, I guess, crazy as yours was, but you are a great story. You raised the grant money, you went down very crazy channels in order to start building that business, and it was only when you had the foundations in place, you'd filed some IP, you had a fantastic idea, and you'd started building a team, and then the angels sort of came calling and started to get engaged and started to look for that level of investment. And I guess that's a lesson for us angels out there. We probably need to get involved earlier. Don't let our founders jump through hundreds of different hoops. The grants are there to support, and the grants do a good job in supporting with the non-dilutive funding. But yeah, we do need to get involved in these fundraising conversations a lot sooner than we often do. So got any tips, Wadah? What are your tips for raising investment to our listeners?
Every person have a different journey, so it's very hard to have to give an advice. But from my experience, it was basically think. Okay, so basically, there's multiple things. So the first thing is that people invest in people. That's something to remember. People invest in people. If a person believes in you, they invest in you rather than the company. Most of the people who invested, most of our angel investors, they invested in our team more than they invest in anything else. But to invest in a team, they need to make sure that this team is capable of doing the things that they promise to do. So that's also something else. To be able to show that you are capable as a team, you need to show that the basic points that every angel investor or every investor basically look at, those are covered. The team already thought about everything, and they are just like ready to execute once they have the tools and the money. They are ready to execute. That's something that's very important. The third thing is that the more valuable assets you give to investors, the better. So if you can show that actually the technology is patentable, it's protectable, you have a unique thing that have a potential, that's also something that's important. It's very important to focus also on the competitive edge, also from the commercial level rather than the technical level. Because I explained, for example, about our technology, but what's important for investors aren't just the technology, it's also about what need we want to solve, which basically that it takes $2.6 billion or 2.2 billion pounds and 12 years to develop one drug. That's the main need. And also precision medicine, there's lots of gaps that can be filled, and this technology can be this bridge between what we have today and those goals. So that's very important for investors to see. So once we understand exactly what investors want, that's where we can bridge the gap, and this will make it way easier to secure angel investors. For the grant money, if you want to do something similar to me, the thing is that regardless where the opportunity is, just like follow any opportunity, follow all the opportunities. At this stage, at early stages, I used to get all the opportunities. At this stage, I need to just like say no a lot. But it's this flip also is very hard to flip from the mentality of being a yes man to saying no sometimes to opportunities. So that's also something in the journey that the person would do, especially in fundraising.
It's good advice. I think the grants, especially, you've got to put the work in. There are so many grants out there, and you've just got to put the effort in. Fill out the application forms, do as many as you can, keep the story consistent, and see what you can get. Because there's a lot of public money that should be going into new novel innovations to do better for the world. And I do see, DLOC. I also see organ on a chip in general being a solution that is for the goodness of the planet, for the goodness of mankind. If you could stop using so many animals or any animals in testing environments, then the carbon footprint decreases, but also, we've got people that can sleep better at night knowing that animals are not suffering for the sake of mankind. So brilliant model. We talked a little bit, Wadah, about the business model behind DLOC. You are a contract research organisation, and an interesting model for certain, given the technology. Talk to us a little bit about the commercial strategy and the go-to-market strategy. How did that come about?
This is, like, to be honest, one of the toughest decisions to take as a company, because it's very important there's lots of channels that we can go venture into as a company. We can sell chips, for example, we can sell devices, but we can sell services. And our strategy isn't just like selling services in a way. Currently, at the short term, our strategy is to sell services. At the long term, when we start venturing into precision medicine market, we'll sell devices and chips and everything else. But the decision is based on multiple factors, on route to market strategy, or basically our early adopters. What do exactly want? Did they want to just like buy our chips? Who are our customers, and what's their appetite? That's the thing that basically define our strategy. And then from the long term level, would it affect how would it affect us basically from the commercial and the business, like financial manners? Like, can we shift it into something else later or not really? Are we stuck with this model or not really? Because if we sell, for example, chips now, can we just stop selling later on and become only a contract research organization or not? So also this flexibility that can allow us for this model also played a role in our decision, but mainly our early adopters, what's their appetite, and our long-term vision, how can we reach it with the current model. So it's a phasal thing, but it's very important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting model. I think you're probably getting some very good advice from the angels that are investing, looking at what happens next. Hopefully, they're doing more than just providing money. So yeah, really cool model. And like you said, it's not the be all and end all. You don't have to be a contract research organization forever. You can pivot. You can sell chips. There's lots and lots of different options here, which is what I'll say to the listeners. Connect with Wadah, speak with Wadah about DLOC, because it's a very interesting company with a lot of commercial avenues off the back of it. So good to know. We talked a little bit about the wider space, Wada. We talked a little bit about the competition or the partners or other technologies that are out there. What does the future of drug testing look like in your world? What do you think are going to be the most disruptive changes, and what would you like to see more of?
I think that the drug development process would be more optimal. That's the first thing, because it's currently not efficient. The ways that we test drugs in the labs are like very old. In a way, if you think about it, that physics like developed extremely fast in the past 100 years. Every other field, the technology like developed in the past 30 years more than more than ever actually. But the biology is still stuck like 100 years back, you know. So what I think is that all the other sciences are being now feeding into the biology, and I think there'll be like a big shift towards a future where drug development is faster, more efficient, more personalized, and far more like human centric. So that's something, and also I think that what we'll be shifting into is something more into precision medicine, because with the advancement of AI, we are currently working on AI software that can integrate with the operating system. So, but also like I can see many other companies working on some artificial intelligence solutions for biology, that, and this would also like give us more information about how we understand biology. Because if you think about it, there's like thousands, if not way more parameters in every question that we're asking about biology. And human, like, there is no human that can think about many parameters at the same time and deduce something that's the score that's beneficial. While AI, with the help of AI and some digital twinning and some predictions and some big data being pumped into this AI, I think our understanding of biology will change a lot, and this will also impact precision medicine, which I think is the future of everything. And as DLOC will be also aiming to play a role in precision medicine, to take biopsies from patients, to grow patient-on-chip models, and to use our models, our technology to test for patients for what's the optimal treatment for each patient. And that's where I think the whole field is heading into.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. You think about precision medicine as the future of medicine, and it is. But I love the idea of actually taking physical biopsies from a patient, and all of a sudden you've gone from being an organ on a chip company to a human body on a chip or operating system on a chip company, all the way to a patient on a chip. I love that terminology. It paints a really interesting future of getting. It is a digital twin, isn't it? In a non-digital sense of the word. I'm trying to find the right word to describe that, but really cool idea. I'm very interested in how that develops. So as far as challenges that future is going to put out, you've outlined a lot of challenges to do with the technology, the future of biology. Do you see the patient data argument being a challenging one? People taking control of their own data moving forward, and we see a lot that's happening in the compliance space for cell and gene therapy. People don't necessarily know how to regulate that world. Have you had any regulatory or compliance challenges with what you're doing?
There's definitely challenges in every field in biology, no matter how far away. So we think that we are far away. And for the first market, which is basically the pharma, we have cell lines that there's data everywhere. There's lots of publications. That's what we use mainly. And even iPSCs, we can source something for drug testing. But when we venture into precision medicine, that's where it becomes really challenging, because it's yeah, it's a question that have multiple edges. So basically, it can be that the patient needs this data to be able to get better prediction and more personalized treatment, but at the same time, he's giving this data. How we can use this data, and how can we like store this data, make it safe for this data, and make it useful for all the population, while not like infringing with the patient's privacy in a way. This is an ethical question that should be raised not just in biology, in everything. So in everything, because our data is being published with all of our searches, everything is out there. So this is a question for AI and for all the tech industry, not just the biotech. But with biotech, I think it's also a big question that should be raised. But at the same time, it's for the benefit of the patient, because basically the patient, when they take this biopsy and we can learn from those cells, we are doing that for basically the advantage of the patient, to make sure that actually he's safe. He takes a safe ultimate treatment for the patient, and after that we can make sure that this data is safe. And the way that we do it actually at DLOC, that's one of the unique things that we do, that we try to get the data from the patient for the patient. So we grow those cells inside of the operating systems, and the AI like learn from the cells. They can do experiments, they can test things on the cells, and it can generate data from the cells in themselves in real time, rather than just like relying on external data. Of course, external data is important as a digital twinning mechanism to make sure that actually those two data sets converge to the same result, and we can have like a solid prediction of what's going on. But we mainly we will be relying on the epigenetics, basically on the data from the cells from the patient, rather than just like the genetic data that's out there, that we can get some information, but not all of the information that we want to give the optimal treatment for the patient.
Yeah, it's the overall question about ethics in patient data is big, vast. We've had people on this podcast talking about patient data previously, so everyone check out those previous episodes talking about the patient data argument. But it's for the benefit of mankind, for the benefit of animal kind, in sharing your
Yes.
data to support better drug treatments. We're almost at time, Wadah. Perhaps you could sort of tell us what is DLOC looking for right now? If anyone's listening to this podcast and says, "Hey, I want to get involved, I want to partner, I'm interested in funding this guy," what does DLOC need?
So currently, from the funding perspective, we are raising angel investments. We are closing the round very soon, and we'll be raising a Series A investment like in the next few months. So that's from the funding perspective. So basically, yeah, of course, we are interested in investors. Everyone who's interested in investing, we are willing to collaborate, not just from the funding level, but also from the experience sharing level. That's what's important for us when we look at angels. But at the same time, we are looking also for collaborators, commercial collaborators, because basically our strategy, our route to market strategy, we are currently pre-revenue, but we are very close to revenue. And our route to market strategy is basically collaborate with potential customers, or like strategic collaborators, strategic partners that can make sure that this phase of biological development, of optimization, that's where we are, is smooth, it's easy, it's less expensive, and it's beneficial for both entities, for us and our commercial collaborators. So basically, we aim to collaborate with companies developing drugs, or doing animal testing even, and to make sure that actually we can do something for the best, not just for us, but also for everyone in this field. Because everyone is getting away from animal testing. But if we understand exactly what are the questions that only animals can answer, and what are the questions that only organ on chips can answer, we can work together with animal companies, animal testing companies, to make sure that how we can reduce it as much as possible, while at the same time offering different solutions together. That's what animal testing, but also with pharma companies, we can collaborate, we can develop models that can exactly model the diseases that they are interested in, to model the pathways basically that they are interested in modeling, basically, for the specific drug that they are creating. So collaborating at this level to develop the organ models, to offer better solutions, and to reach the market faster are also something that we are interested in currently at DLOC Biosystems.
It's a good list, and I like the realism behind it, Wadah. You're out there understanding your role in the world and DLOC's role in the world, and it's not about disrupting the industry so hard that it needs to completely flip over. It's about understanding how you can start making small steps in order to ultimately disrupt that industry in 5, 10, 15 years, however long it takes to bring about better therapeutics. Wonderful, Wadah. Final question for you. One tip, one piece of advice you'd give to the other entrepreneurs out there who are starting their journey, or who are a couple of years in like you are.
I think be flexible, because like flexibility is the most important asset that any entrepreneur should have. We all get like this type of positive or negative criticism. It should be like heading us toward the good direction rather than just like creating a barrier or creating a fake trust in ourselves. That's not true. So what's important is to be flexible, to head towards the end goal. The end goal is to create a better future, a better solution, something that have a good application for the market and for humanity. And that's what's important for us to do. And we should always think about the end goal rather than what we are currently doing, because maybe what we are doing currently is wrong. But if we are flexible enough, we can pivot and pivot and pivot and reach the goal. And not just go with the technology, but also go with the fundraising strategy. So we need to think out of the box. We need to be flexible and open to different like opportunities and the things that actually wouldn't be very obvious to us and would be like maybe something that I wouldn't venture into. Maybe just like look at it and think that why not? You know, my options? How can I expand our pool? My pool basically of opportunities, and that's something that can all depend on the flexibility and also some perseverance, because you need to be very, like you need to persevere to make sure that actually, no matter how many blocks you face, you can just like overcome them. So that's also something.
That's good advice. Be flexible. Don't be too regimented. It's important to have a vision, but at the same time, have the freedom to explore avenues outside of that singular vision and be free to explore stuff that will ultimately contribute to that vision in a weird and wonderful way. Wadah, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you, and we wish you all the best for DLOC in the future.